Europe affects us in our everyday lives now in Europeans.
Timesharing. It's a holiday formula which, since it was launched in the 1970s, has allowed millions of European consumers with medium incomes to spend their holidays in dreamlike destinations. Potential clients sign a contract which allows them to own an apartment for 2 or more weeks every year in resort locations throughout Europe. The Organisation for Timeshare in Europe, or OTE, estimates that in 2005, 1.45 million households held rights to about 2.9 million timeshare weeks. But while buying timeshares is a holiday dream for some, for others it can be a nightmare. Julie Emerson and Mark Miley signed a timeshare with a 3-year trial period for €5,000, but a change of employment meant they could no longer afford the payments.
I got a phone call on my mobile when I was at work, and this a lady saying that I'd won or come runner-up in a competition that I'd entered, which I can't remember entering, but I had entered some competitions online, and we'd won a holiday for 2 in Costa del Sol or Tenerife. All we needed to do was go along to a presentation and we'd be given our prize.
We got there, there was quite a few people there, none of whom we had any contact with. We were kept very much away from them. We were shown in, put at a table and basically given a salesman to deal with for the whole time that we were there. He never left our side for, 3 hours that we were in there.
We were supposed to pay £95 on the day, and I said, I haven't got it was just before Christmas, I said, I haven't got £95 this close to Christmas. So he kept saying to me, well, what can you give today? And we felt a bit backed into a corner at that point, and I was saying, well, nothing, I don't have anything until obviously after Christmas. So he said, what I'll do then is I'll write that you have paid this, and then you send us the money afterwards.
As soon as we realised that the contract wasn't possible for us to fulfil the financial obligations of the contract, we wrote a letter to them straight away, and this was a matter of probably just over, it must have been 2 weeks after we'd signed the original contract. We wrote to them straight away.
You detailed everything, didn't you? Yeah. Why we couldn't.
And we got no response from them at all. They didn't get back to us or anything.
Like others before them, Mark and Julie had made the mistake of not reading the small print when signing, the so-called cooling off period when you can withdraw from the contract and get your money back had already expired. Mark and Julie said they'd never been informed about this time limit. However, the cooling off period had indeed been written in very small print on the back of the contract. And even after contacting several consumer organisations, including the OTE, it turned out that the couple was legally bound to their contract.
We then contacted the OTE, outlined all the situation to them, and after some time they again said that they're not actually entitled, or they're not actually required to give us a cooling off period because it's a trial period. Because that's how they got around it. If we'd have signed a 10-year contract, then they are, but because we'd signed up for a trial period, they don't have to offer. It's just courtesy. And so therefore, they're under no obligation to allow us to cancel.
Don't even go to the presentation.
Because if these companies are offering such a wonderful and legitimate service, then you shouldn't have to sign on a dotted line after a 3-hour presentation there and then. If what they're offering is so wonderful, then let people go away, think about it, come back and sign, because it should be, if it's that good, people will want to do it. Why is there that need for the pressure?
While Mark and Julie claim to have been victims of this pressure or aggressive sales approach, there's little doubt that Europe's timeshare industry has proven a successful business. In Spain alone, economic data for 2003 shows the total turnover of the timeshare industry at €4.2 billion, and for all of Europe the turnover is estimated at €10.5 billion. But despite the economic success, the European Commission admits that consumers' rights have been abused. And the Commission for Consumer Affairs plans to update its 1994 directive to protect clients from the kind of loopholes and misleading contracts that trapped this British couple, Marjorie and Ralph Elliott. They already owned a timeshare in Madeira in Portugal. 3 years ago, they were approached by the company which sold them their timeshare. The sales representative asked if they wanted to invest €15,000 in the firm. They were guaranteed a 10% profit within a year. But it turned out it was just to buy 2 more timeshares.
They brought another man, more senior, in, who said that we didn't really need to purchase them. We purchased the timeshare, but we didn't need to keep the timeshare as long as we returned the certificates. First of all, they said within 1 year, but then the gentleman in question said, well, you would be better if you definitely don't want any more timeshare, return your certificates immediately, and then there'll be no problem, they will be sold and your money will be returned to you. Initially, we wrote to the firm saying what was happening. We emailed, we wrote to everyone that we could think of in the firm, and ever so many letters, and there was just no reply, no response, just all completely ignored.
Despite following instructions and returning the certificates, the Elliots did not receive the extra benefits and money they were promised. They also went to the UK European Consumer Centre for help, and the case is ongoing. The Elliots say they want to warn others about these types of false investment schemes.
We went to Madeira again in 2005 in December, and we asked the rep then if he could tell us if the apartments we'd been allocated were sold, and he said yes, they had been. Anyway, the upshot was we did get £7,000 of our money back. He'd paid it into the bank then, and he promised that he guaranteed that we would be paid the rest of it by the end of the first quarter of 2007, if not before. And that's now past the first quarter of 2007, and we have heard nothing whatsoever since last December when we were there.
While the Elliots keep waiting for their money, the European Commission plans to adopt the new timeshare directive next week. The hope is that with this updated directive, timeshare owners such as the Elliots will benefit from improved enforcement procedures, and potential clients will be protected from misleading contracts that could see them struggling with a greater financial burden than they can handle.